Good Friday morning, everyone. It's half past the hour. I'm Bruce Edwards. Thank you for joining us here at the Weather Channel. It's the 12th day of July, 1996, TGIF, ready to head into another weekend. And we're going to wrap up this week. It's been an interesting week weather-wise, to say the very least. Of course, we've been tracking Bertha all week long, and, well, today is going to be the culmination, because this is when we anticipate Bertha will make a landfall, right around lunchtime today, around the South Carolina coastal region. And you're not out of the woods yet, because even once it makes landfall, some heavy rains are going to be ensuing, and that includes North Carolina up into Virginia, and eventually into even Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You're going to see some of the wet weather from this system over the next couple of days. Here are the particulars now. The latest observation as of 30 minutes ago at 5 a.m. Eastern Time for the National Hurricane Center in Miami. Bertha centered at 31.6 north, 78.7 west, or 190 miles south of Wilmington, North Carolina. Top sustained winds are at 80 miles per hour. No change in strength is anticipated over the next 12 hours or so. Well, actually, until it makes landfall. I shouldn't say next 12 hours, because that'll be before the 12-hour period is up. But no increase in strength is anticipated, so that makes it a minimal hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane on the Saffir-Simpson scale. It continues its slow movement to the north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. It could shift a little farther to a more due north track a little later on this morning. Central pressure is held steady at 985 millibars, or 29.9 inches of mercury. Now, here's a bit of good news for the Georgia coast. South of Savannah, the hurricane warnings down to Brunswick have been canceled now, again, but they still remain in effect from Savannah north to the Virginia border. And north of that, we have hurricane watches in the mouth of the Chesapeake Bay on Chickateague, Virginia. The strike probability, the chances of the center of the storm crossing over a point along the coast, is highest right around Charleston up to about Myrtle Beach, right in that general area. But a thing to remember, again, with a hurricane, like any area of low pressure, it has counterclockwise circulation. In the case of this hurricane, the majority of the tropical storm and hurricane force winds are well east of the center. Again, very poorly organized. There is the eye of the system, and all the heavy winds are off to the east. But again, with that counterclockwise circulation, that means a pretty big push to the north and east of where the eye crosses the coast. So North Carolina, northern portions of South Carolina are going to bear the brunt of the wind and the surge with this system as it continues to push in from the Atlantic Ocean. Now, the rainfall could be locally very heavy. We're talking to the tune of 6 or more inches of rainfall in the sand hills and on down to the coastal plain and the sounds of North Carolina down towards the Grand Strand at Myrtle Beach. So it's, again, a day to play some gin rummy and pinochle in the interior hotel rooms, and then wait out the storm, and then start heading back in as the storm system moves on north. Now, the projected track for the storm, once it comes inland, is to pretty much hug the coast and move on up, and, of course, become an extra tropical, low-pressure area, but still with moisture available. That could mean some locally heavy rain. But again, there is the hurricane perched offshore. But what it's undergoing here is also a little shear. Westerly shear. You got the old stalled front, and so that's what's sort of forcing everything off towards the east. As a matter of fact, you've got the eye of the hurricane here. Well, it's sort of flopping over towards the east, according to reconnaissance aircraft reports, the cyclone itself. So again, it's not a very well organized system, so we don't anticipate any strengthening of the storms whatsoever, or this hurricane whatsoever. We take a look at the elsewhere across the country. Area of low pressure here coming out of Canada, sweeping into Minnesota, and out ahead of it, some wet weather into Wisconsin, portions of Minnesota, down into Iowa. Monsoonal moisture in the southwest, and we're seeing showers all the way to Reno, Nevada, and thunderstorms down into southern Arizona. The current weather map looks like this. Of course, the main subject of conversation is Bertha, but high pressure made a beautiful day yesterday in the northeast. Remember when it was over the Ohio Valley, had all that record low temperatures yesterday morning? Well, it's moved on off. Temperatures not as cool this morning. Generally quiet weather from the Ohio Valley into the northeast. A little fog around Hot Springs, Virginia, and moisture is increasing now in southern Virginia. So look for the rain showers to ensue. Matter of fact, a little bit of thunder being reported around Salisbury, Maryland during the last hour. The numbers are comfortable. 63 Boston, 68 New York, a little sticky in D.C. at 73. Pittsburgh and Erie both at 62. Detroit's at 60 this morning, but again, that's a bit warmer than it was yesterday. Miami's at 80. Charleston, a blustery 73 right now. It's 77 at Myrtle Beach with east winds gusting to about 35 miles per hour. Atlanta checks in with 71. Raleigh-Durham a wet 65. There's your stalled frontal system. On the tail end, we're seeing still a flow of moisture off the Rio Grande and coming on up into southeastern sections of Oklahoma. Oklahoma, around McAllister. And then, of course, the biggest surge of moisture is associated with Bertha. And there you can see on the radar, mainly a lot of dark green and a few flecks of yellow, a few thunderstorms in there, but mainly some moderate to heavy rainfall continue to surge on in. And once again, it's going to continue to pile up this way. So if you live in a flood-prone area, keep an eye on the changing situation because, again, flash flood watch is posted over all of the eastern seaboard of the Carolinas for today. And as we check your forecast weather maps for today, once again, by midday, we anticipate that Hurricane Bertha will have made landfall. A big surge of moisture and wind on the east side of the storm, so that means the North Carolina coastal region into the Tidewater of Virginia is still going to get hammered pretty good by this system. And besides this, we will still see some wet weather in Oklahoma and Texas. Some monsoonal moisture will scatter showers in the west, and we'll see some action out ahead of this frontal system here into Wisconsin, pushing into Michigan. Some of these storms could indeed become strong to severe later on this afternoon. There's your wet weather marching through Michigan. And then once again, by this mid to late afternoon, the low pressure area, actually it'll be a tropical storm at this point near Fayetteville, North Carolina this afternoon, moving north. It will continue to weaken, but the tropical moisture is there. So the rainfall will still be locally heavy into eastern Virginia and North Carolina. As we mentioned at Williamsburg, Kings Mill PGA Tour second round action today, looking a little iffy, especially for the late tee times.